Hi, friends. It's June 16th, 2024. I'm in my happy place, McDonald's, my local McDonald's. It's pouring rain outside, driving pouring rain, what we call in Vancouver, in Greater Vancouver, January. So I just want to wish all the fathers happy Father's Day. There's something divine and miraculous about fathers that, I was blessed with wonderful fathers professionally, probably one of the top engineers in the world, a professor of engineering. He worked for 20 years underground in Sudbury as a mining engineer, saving, he told me, probably about 600 lives. During World War II, it was considered to be as dangerous to work underground in the mines as it was to be on a battlefield. And so you could take your pick. And he said that about 2 men a week would die in the Sudbury produced, or actually my father's mine, the Frood mine, nickel mine, produced by itself 40% of the nickel used in the Allied war effort in World War II. Like, that's not 40% of the nickel used by Canadians or the Commonwealth. That was 40% of the nickel used in the war effort by the Allies was produced from my father's mine. And they worked at such a breakneck speed and so hard and so fast that about 2 men a week died. And my father had to go and do the family notification to the families. And he said that he soon learned to bring 2 other people with him, a priest and a doctor, because he said virtually every time he did the death notification to the wives of these dead miners, that the wife would faint. So the other thing that I'm thinking about on Father's Day, my father really was responsible for my brother, Paul Kierans, whom I've been advocating for my whole life and whom I'm trying to emulate now. He's responsible for his survival. And a couple of stories about my dad with Paul, that he decided that my family was told to institutionalize Paul when he was born, because he was obviously profoundly disabled with Down syndrome. And my father said, to hell with that. He's coming home with us. Now, my mother was shocked, and she'd never seen a person with Down syndrome before. My brother had never heard about it. And she already had 8 children at home. And I think she hesitated. And so Paul remained at Sick Kids in Toronto until he was healthy enough to be discharged. And my father took the train down from Sudbury to Toronto, and he brought Paul back all by himself. And at first, I think my mother was very upset, and she went into a bit of a depression for a couple of years. But then she just picked herself up and dusted herself off. She created the first preschool for mentally disabled children in Northern Ontario in our home. But the second thing my father did that I remember, I was a little girl, I must have been about 4, and Paul got pneumonia. So very often children with Down syndrome, at the time that he was born, the life expectancy for children with Down syndrome was 6 years old when my brother Paul was born. At the time of his death, it was 60 years old. And usually people with Down syndrome today die of Alzheimer's. But Paul never got Alzheimer's. He was sharp as a tack right up till the end. Anyways, so Paul got pneumonia when he would have been about, he was sitting up, so he would have been about maybe 12 months, maybe a year and a bit. And he was at the Sudbury General Hospital, and my dad took me. I remember I came up to about my dad's hand. That's about how old I was. And my father couldn't find Paul on the ward. And then he went outside the ward, and Paul was sitting in a high chair, slumped over in a high chair in a puddle of his own vomit. So he'd been moved out of the ward into the hallway by the nursing staff. And then nuns, when nuns were nurses, as some of them were, some of the nuns were also nurses. They would still wear their nurse habit. And I mean, the long black skirt and the cowl and everything. Anyways, so little Paul was slumped over in a high chair in the hallway outside of the actual ward, and in a puddle of vomit, face down in a puddle of vomit. I'm not kidding. And I had never seen my father so angry, and angry at a nun. He went up one side of her, down the other. He just freaked right out. And I remember wondering, holy shit, here I've never seen my father like that. And talking to a nun like that. It was, But, by doing that, my father saved his life. And I tried so hard to save Paul's life. I knew he was going to die locked up at L'Arche. I have a court hearing this week on the 19th, on June 19th. My sister's lawyer has applied to the court to have me declared a vexatious litigant, and he set down a hearing, pre-hearing conference on the 19th for an hour at 9 a.m. So I'll let you know how that goes. But one of the things I would say to the judge if I thought that he would listen, but he wouldn't, his name is Peter Eidelman, is that the one job a judge has that's sacred above all other responsibilities is to ensure that people do not lose their freedom. In Canada, there's no more death penalty, except for euthanasia, medical assistance in dying. That's if you're disabled, then the state will kill you. But if you commit a crime, there's no more death penalty. And so the one job that judges have is to ensure that people are not unlawfully locked up or confined against their will, or unlawfully, whether it's mental patients or criminals. And this judge, Judge Eidelman dropped the ball big time. I begged for it to try and restore Paul's visits the day before Paul died. But, he wasn't interested. So I actually feel better today. I feel more upbeat, more positive. Thinking about my dad. I woke up thinking about my dad, thinking about fathers. And something came up on my memories from Facebook was the founding of the Iditarod race, which I didn't know. It's I think it's 1,000 kilometers dog sled race, and it's still going on today. But it started, I think, in 1920 or 23. The Iditarod was the original Iditarod. It still makes me cry to even think about it. It was the Iditarod, the original Iditarod race across the Yukon, was to bring medicine for diphtheria. There was a diphtheria outbreak in Nome, Alaska. I think it was Nome. And the nearest train station that they could send the medicine to was 1,000 miles away. I don't know why this story makes me cry, but it does. So these dog sled owners. There was a famous Iditarod trail. The trail already existed. But they raced across the Yukon 1,000 kilometers to bring this diphtheria medicine to these 24 gravely ill children. Anyways, I don't know why that, I haven't cried about Paul dying, but I cry about the Iditarod race. Anyways, Paul, I miss you so much. You had the best dad in the world, dear. Remember, everybody, I'm still fighting this fight. My sister, the evil nun sister, 4,000 kilometers away, still has her tentacles here in Greater Vancouver. She's bringing me to court on June 19th to have me declared a vexatious litigant, which means that I won't have any ability to represent myself or to fight for my rights at all. I'll be shut down. The evil nun sister. So pray for me, contribute to our GoFundMe account by clicking on the link I'll put in the description box to this video. And copy and paste the email that I'll put in the description box to this video and send it off to the decision makers who can change the law, or in a position to change the law. And remember, it was all this happened under the watch of the New Democratic Party in British Columbia. They never even met with me to discuss my complaint about my brother being locked up against his will for 588 days, 10 hours and 15 minutes. Anyways, to all those wonderful fathers out there, and you know who you are, thank you so much for everything that you do. Take care, everybody.